So for this week's Just One Quilt Story, I'm with archaeologist turned quilter Amy of Coffee Ring Studio, which I kept getting wrong on Instagram. And why is that?
Basically because I like a lot of coffee, so that gets me through the day and through a quilt. Before I had my son, I was a museum curator specialising in archaeology, which is quite different from quilting. And I always thought that I would do that job. It was quite hard through university to get the qualifications. You need a surprising amount of them to work in a museum. And I never thought I'd want to give that up. And then I did when he came along, sort of, I don't know, maternal instinct, which I didn't think I'd have much of, kicked in, and that was it. That was the end of that. So I had a baby at home, and I realised I think that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mum, but I needed that little extra something else. So that's why I took up sewing, and then it led on to all of the quilting stuff. And I think still now I like being able to pick him up from school and all that kind of thing, but I couldn't be at home kind of cooking and cleaning. It wouldn't be enough for me personally. So the quilting kind of fills that gap for me, really. A really good way to pass the time before he comes home, I suppose. So I designed it for my little boy, and I really like doing stars on quilts. So the inspiration was actually Moroccan tiles, which I found on Pinterest, and I designed it with really bright colours. And then when I put them together, put each block together, there was a massive gap in the middle.
Okay.
So I decided I needed to fill it. So filled it with another star and realised there was actually loads of stars that I hadn't even spotted myself. So then I totally changed the colours so that it was like stars at night. My mum always made stuff when I was a child. She did a lot of cross stitch and made costumes for me and that kind of thing. And then her and my auntie started quilting, and she bought me a really cheap, like £50 machine when I was pregnant, because she thought I might, feel nesty and want to make something. So I made a few little patchwork bits, and then it got put away because I had a newborn baby. And then I got back into sewing, actually making him clothes, and he wore cloth nappies. So I started to sort of customise cloth nappies.
Okay.
So I actually ran a business for 3 years making nappies and clothes.
And selling them online.
And then stopped doing that just before he went to school, because it sort of stopped being fun, because everything had to be given away. And then I think that's how I got back into quilting. My mum said, why don't you make some cushions, and then you get to keep what you've made.
Okay.
And it sort of started from there, and then thinking of, I like that design, can I come up with my own idea, and it just sort of went on from there.
I'm not doing very well so far at passing on this sewing legacy to my children, because my eldest son got his worst grade ever in sewing at school. My middle daughter only likes baking, so I've got hope for my youngest child maybe. But do you think about that? Like, obviously you somehow got that bug from your mum indirectly. Do you think about passing it on? Or?
Well, he does. He likes to watch me sew, and he is often interested in what I'm making, especially when I make things for him. And he's just started doing, in some of the school holidays, little sewing classes at a local shop. So he made a cushion, an ice cream cone cushion. And my son's called Fletcher, and he named the cushion Sir Fletchington.
And does he cuddle it at night?
Yes, he does, like properly. I'm worried it's going to all fall to pieces, actually. It's interesting how there are links between archaeology and quilting. Sort of favourite archaeological place ever is Pompeii. And they have amazing different mosaics, some that are just patterns, some with like a central focus and patterns around them. So I think it'd be really interesting to make quilts based on that, because at least they are those the tiny little tesserae are like a tiny little, not even a block, a little cut of quilting fabric. So that could be quite an interesting project to work on, I think. So you find that if I've been really busy and haven't got on the sewing machine for a while, it starts to make me feel a bit twitchy. I need to get back to it. So yeah, and especially doing things like EPP, and I do sometimes cross stitch just on the sofa at night. That's quite a nice way to chill out. I would say it's a fun creative outlet, and if it goes wrong you can undo it. So I'm terrible at drawing unless I've got a grid to work on. And if I painted a picture it would go wrong and I would throw it in the bin because I couldn't correct it. But I always think with quilting, you can always unpick it and press it and sew it back together again. So it's quite a good beginner thing. If you're not that confident, you can have a go, and it's not going to be a complete disaster if it doesn't work out right the first time. If there was a ban on quilting, that would be bad. I'm kind of a rule follower, I would say, but I think I would try and break the rules to keep quilting in some sort of secret society.